Hey everybody, I wanted to address something that I got a comment on one of my older videos the other day. It was a critical comment, which is fine. I appreciate all your comments. I've learned just as much from your comments as hopefully you've learned from watching the videos more, I'm sure. But it was essentially chastising me for making a recommendation on a method or procedure. I think it was for body work when I didn't really seem to know what I was doing. And that's true. I shouldn't be making recommendations on a method when I'm not that sure of how to do the method itself. So I appreciated the comment. I'll take that on board, and I'll try to watch my language to make sure that I'm not recommending you guys do something that may lead you astray or cause rework or damage or something like that. That being said, if you're using these videos as a reference, that's a big mistake. I have never done this stuff before, and I hope I've never professed otherwise, and to lead you guys to think that I know what I'm talking about, and the way that I'm doing something is not only the right way, but the only way. So please don't misunderstand that out of these videos. Take these as an experience. There's a saying out there that you can't make all the mistakes. You won't live long enough to make all the mistakes, so you got to learn from the mistakes of others, and that's, as I've said in my introduction video, that's what the point is of all of these videos that I'm doing. For you to watch and to take on board what I've done, and when I make a mistake, I've gone back several times and fixed those mistakes and hopefully brought it to everybody's attention. So I just wanted to clear any misunderstanding up. Again, if you guys are watching these videos as a reference and think that I'm doing stuff the right way or the only way or something like that, please don't think that. Everything is you do at your own risk, just like I'm doing here. So enough of that, time to get to work. All right, welcome back. About 4:15 or so on the 11th of April. Not a whole lot going to be going on tonight. I'm getting ready to go on travel for a little while, about a week or so. So I don't really want to get too deep into anything, no painting or anything where I'm on a clock. So what I'm going to look at doing, first thing I'll do is I'm going to fix this crack right here. If you remember, I put that in when I was trying to adjust the bonnet. I'm going to fix that, drill a little pilot hole in there to stop the crack from propagating and weld that up. The other thing I may look at doing is trying to fix this where it sinks in a little bit. I'm not positive that I'm going to do that. But really the big thing that I want to try to get tonight is to get this handbrake mechanism, which is rather complicated. I've never taken another handbrake apart, so maybe that's how this stuff is. But this is Dorothy's original handbrake. Obviously it needs to be cleaned up. But there's a full page in the workshop manual, which I've got printed out here, and how to align everything and run the cable, and there's angles that you need to set up and everything so that it's properly adjusted. Obviously, we don't call them emergency brakes in the United States for no reason. So this is definitely something I want to get set up properly. There's a couple pieces in here that are unique. There's a little rubber piece here that I have an old one of, but it's cracked and brittle. This number 11 here is like a felt fabric, which I would have to make. I don't have any of that stuff, and I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to get everything set up. I do have the rubber grommets that the gentleman on my favorite forum that I mentioned was kind enough to make for me, so I'll use that. So I'm going to just kind of learn and see what's going on here. First thing I want to do is get this taken apart as much as I can. A lot of this is able to be taken apart and get it cleaned up as well as I can, and in preparation for getting it painted. I don't think I can get this handle off. I don't really intend to do that. I may use the buffing wheel. There's like some sort of, it's probably just sweat and grime and everything from years of use. Kind of disgusting actually, but you know, oh well. And try to get that cleaned up, and then to get to routing that and see how it goes. Again, not a big point to the evening, just kind of messing around a little bit. All right, so the handbrake assembly here is pretty simple. Got the main clip here, properly referred to as the ratchet, the handle ratchet here, and there's a little pivot pin in here, and the little pawl. Now this works opposite of what you probably are used to in your car, and I think Triumph actually changed the design over. So what we're used to is just pulling up on the emergency brake, because then it clicks, and you let it go and you're fine. And what you do with the release is you pull it up and push in on the button, and then it drops. This works just the opposite. Here you push in on the button, and the spring loading on the primary spring holds the thing in here and holds this clamped in. And when you want to release it, you just pop the button and it'll pop it out, and then you let it down. So it's opposite. Hopefully, if I get this thing kind of hooked up, I might be able to show you it, but I'm not sure. But there's a little circlip that holds this guy in just various places. I'm not too sure I'm going to be able to pound this this pivot pin, excuse me, out. I don't want to mess that up. But again, I'm just going to kind of take this apart and clean it up. This whole contraption requires several clevis pins, so I did buy a couple new ones, but the old ones are in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, I don't have one of the smaller ones that goes here. I need one small one into this portion and then one small one into this portion. But a while ago I just did kind of buy long ones just to kind of have hanging around. So I've used this one here as a template, and I'm going to drill a hole through as straight as I can. It's probably not going to be great. With a real thin little drill bit there, I'll drill that through, get the hole through that so I can put a lock pin that's not split pin, whatever the heck those things are called, and then cut it so its length is about right. See if I can't get this thing put together. This doesn't look like it's going to be too easy. So you would imagine that it's very difficult to start a drill bit on a rounded surface, and it is, and I struggled with it. I meant to record it. Yeah, definitely need to drill out a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to go ahead and knock that out real quick. Now that I've got kind of a pilot hole drilled by luck, it should go just fine. Alright, not perfect, but that's actually pretty good. There you go. Alright, so from that to the one on the right there, the one on the left is the original one. Not too shabby, pretty happy with that. So this is that felt washer. I did find the old one pretty beat up. Won't be reusing this. I'm sure it's supposed to be greased, but that'll kind of fit on this portion of the pivot arm here, and it goes up into the body. So it's going to be a little tricky because I'm going to have to be on my back and all that kind of stuff. I'll try to show you as best I can. But that's next, is trying to fit all this stuff up. So if you can see there, I put the rubber grommet in. I had 3 prototypes that would fit properly. One had a split head here. I'm not using that one because I didn't need it. This one that I have in here right now was called a 20% infill, and the other one was 100% infill. And talking to the guy that made them, the infill is how dense the resin is. So believe it or not, inside this little piece in this resin, it's like a honeycomb that the 3D printer can do. It's got to be an awesome 3D printer. So this is about a 20% infill, and it just makes it more pliable, a little bit more rubbery. So I figured that would be better. So now I'll get this brake in here. There we go. Alright, so you can see this little lip here. So that clip thing with the gear teeth on it, that sits underneath of that. So it essentially becomes stationary. So now I'll go ahead and clip this back together. Come over there and get in your way. All right, probably block some of that, but just put that C-clip in. So, unlike American cars, like I tried to explain to you on the bench, if you went out to your car right now and pulled the emergency brake up, if you have one that's on the center like this, you would pull it up as if you don't push the button in, you would hear the click, 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 click thing. Well, this is an opposite operation. So for here, you would pull the emergency brake up, it would put tension on the cable on the spring back there, and then you push the handle in, and that handle locks it in, and then the pressure that's wanting to pull the lever back down keeps that locked in. And then when you're done, you just lift, and it releases and you're down. So I'm sure I'll mess that up 7,000 times until I'm used to it, because like I said, it's totally opposite. I do believe that Triumph at some point switched the design over to make them work like American cars. They just redesigned the spring, I'm sure. But you set the emergency brake and then clip in the pawl, and then that locks it. And the tension from the spring, again, holds it all in place. And when you're done, you just lift, unclick, and it drops it back down. So it's a little different. It'll be interesting to get used to that. So now I got that fit. So we're going to get underneath the car here in a second, feed the cable through. It looks like I may have a hard time getting the little clip in there though, so we'll see how that works out for me. All right, so you can see I have the cable fit up, or through the hole I should say. I'm going to take the handbrake lever back off because you can't get to the attachment point down here without doing so. So you got this clamp, and that's what attaches here, like that. Has a square nut that goes on the inside of that. This nut here that's on the cable is a lock nut. So you got to kind of set this square nut in here, start it with the clamp on already, or you can't get it to start. Do that. Get this thing fit. Alright, so I got that attached. You can kind of see the back of that there. Now I'll try to get this back in there again. Alright, tighten up the locking nut here. I don't think this is the way that it's really supposed to be done. I don't have a good idea for how much of this cable should be threaded through. I have no idea. Alright, so this is a little tricky. Bring it underneath here and see if I can show you any better. Alright, well obviously I'm laying on the floor here, so it's going to be a little bit tight, hard to focus. But essentially you have the cable that comes back into here. Now this is locked in to me. I'd have to pull it forward. This primary cable, which goes up into the handbrake lever. So this will obviously attach down here somewhere, give or take. And then the compensating arm, which I'll throw up here in a second when I get a free hand. If I can get this up here. This is the compensating arm. Yep, sorry. This is the compensating arm, and that's where the handbrake cable that goes out to the rear wheels will fish around that. And the setup has you set up a 15-degree angle between the straight line that this makes and that compensating arm. So I'm going to put some pins in real quick just to kind of get this set up and get a couple free hands, and then I'll show you, I think, the 15-degree thing that I'm talking about. Alright, so again, center of the bolt to the angle that this should be 15 degrees. So I've got my timing mark here that I used to put the cam in and make sure that cam timing was set properly. And out of that I made this little 15-degree triangle. It says 15 degrees, that's how I know it's 15 degrees. No, just kidding, I actually measured it. I'm trying to get it far enough away so you could see it. What I did was I just taped the triangle up real quick. Now I should have cut the triangle a little bit differently to make the angle work a little bit better for me, but it'll work. So essentially what I want is that compensating lever, or not the compensating lever, but this pivot lever here to be lined up almost perfectly with the triangle there, which puts me right about there or so, give or take. Not that critical. So then if I look at where that leaves me on the clip here, I'll show you here in a second. What I'm going to try to do now is I'll move this triangle out of the way and I'll try to get this taped down, or it's at least partially secure so it doesn't move too much on me. Again, I'm not setting this for real, so it's definitely going to come apart again, but I just wanted to see how this gets figured out. It's not incredibly stable, but it'll work. So what I'm trying to do here is line up this hole, obviously, in this portion, and one of those two holes. It doesn't really seem to specify which one. I'll use the outside one. So you can see here, just by looking at it, I need to move, I don't know, about an inch or so. So with that, that tells me that I have to adjust this now about an inch or so back that way. So this is going to be about 15 degrees, I'll tell you that, because I could spend all night here trying to figure that out perfectly. But at least I'll make some marks on these cables and everything. So this thing has to come apart again because I need to twist this whole locking mechanism. I can't do that with it installed. So I'm going to try to make up and guess the distance to about here on this lock nut. So I'll screw this guy down to about where I think it's going to go, pull this apart, screw it back down, and try it again. So I got it adjusted, and it's actually, shadow's probably not letting you see, but it's almost just touching the back of the handbrake. So I guess it's about as much as I'm going to get it, whether I like it or not. So yeah, the cable can't really stretch anymore, I guess, can it? Because it's right there. Anyway, so if we come down here and look underneath, pull the thing up, and it's just a little bit short, but that's okay, at least for now. And I'll put this pin in. Let me give myself a free hand. I'll put this pin in. Alright, so that pin is now in. So that's pretty much secured. So you would have the brake cable coming from the wheels actually back here. Pull this tape off now. So that's at about 15 degrees. Now I've got this little locking clip here, which I'm really glad that I didn't lose that thing because I don't think Dorothy had it. And what it tells you to do now, and this is where this rubber grommet's going to come in, is you compress this spring about an inch, is what the manual says, and then tighten down this clamp, and that prevents that spring from going back, so it should always be under a little bit of tension. So the handbrake cable should work, I think. I won't need the tension from the brakes themselves. There's some springs on the brakes, but I think I'll be able to see if it's going to work just by using this this spring tension here. So we'll see here. Alright, I put it under tension. I don't know if that's an inch or not. It's kind of hard to tell. Not real crazy about that setup, I'll tell you that. This I don't know, metal on metal, not a real good friction thing. I don't know. Anyway, so that's clamped down, and there's definitely tension on it. So now I'll go up top and see if it actually works. Alright, so again, under a little bit of tension here, you would pull it up. I can feel the spring compressing a little bit. There's not a whole lot of tension on that, just because I think I'm not pulling on the brakes. Push that pin in, and there it sits. So that's how you work this, and then when you let it go, pull it up and it unclicks, and you just let it down. So you would have to push that button in like that to kind of get what you're used to in the American cars. So just push, pull it in, and your emergency brake is set. That's about it. So that works. I'll go ahead and take the bunch of pictures here and get this all documented so that I know about where it needs to go when I put it back together, and take it all back apart. Maybe not tonight, but I'll take it all back apart. I would like to get the bonnet hole drilled in here. So yeah, so that worked. Not horrible, but definitely a little bit more complicated than it probably needs to be. Oh, and another thing, before this grommet goes in for the last time, I'll definitely will be putting a dab of silicone or something in there, black silicone, something to prevent it from getting any water or something like that. Moving on with the goals of the evening, you can see this crack pretty clearly here, and if you look right there, you can kind of see a termination, and I'm pretty sure that I have welded this one before. I never did go back and look at my old footage or anything, but I think I tried to effect this repair at some point, obviously didn't do a good enough job, cracked it wide open again. Probably a penetration thing. If I haven't mentioned this already, I think the car's just going to go flying apart at a high rate of speed the first good bump that I take due to lack of weld penetration. But anyway, I'm going to take a a cleanup disc thing. Just clean up all the paint from around here, get a good look at it, drill another termination hole, and get ready to weld it back up. Alright, so if you noticed what I did there, I'm not sure if you could see that too well. I kind of zoomed in a little too far for that. But essentially what I tried to do is clamp it down, and this is the side that I was struggling with this side caving in on me compared to the sill. And I think some of it's coming from this, so I tried to take advantage of the fact that it's cracked right there, frankly. Open that back up a little bit. I did repair this spot previously, so that would potentially led me to believe that I didn't really pay attention to that. I also found a really good dent in here that I must have missed in the past. So I can't work that until after I'm done welding up the patch, or welding up that little repair real quick. Alright, looks like it kept itself apart pretty good too. I'll push it a little bit, but I don't think I need to do too much. Alright, good penetration that time because I could tell from the back side. I'll show you. So there's that from the front here. Go from the back. You can see that's halfway decent penetration in there. So I'll get her cleaned up and then see if I can't work on this dent. Probably won't get to that B-post thing tonight. It's about 7:15. I actually stayed home from work sick yesterday for the first time in a long time, so I'm still a little bit recovering. So I'll probably call it a night after cleaning this up and seeing if I can do anything about knocking out this low here. Alright, so this cleaned up pretty well. Maybe a little spot of filler right there where it's I had to put that initial weld bead. But if you can see, I got just a hacksaw blade as my straight edge here. I'll try to keep it in the shot so you can see it. As I work my way down, you'll see that the bonnet start to pull away from the straight edge, I think. Opens up pretty good right there. And hangs out for quite a while, unfortunately. Boy, it's still going. Still a gap, and then it starts to close up a little bit towards the end here. So pretty much the entire length of the handle or the latch all in here, and I can even kind of see it now looking at it. So again, I'll do some off dolly stuff here. I'm obviously going to mess up paint, but it's all right. That's a halfway decent dent that's worth getting out for me. So again, I'll work the dolly around and bang from the outside to try to get this low out. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad. That's a pretty flat, not a whole lot of curve in here. I can really feel that. Again, off dolly work, so I got the center of the low right about in here. So I'll put the dolly outside of that center of the low and just kind of try to knock it out. Yeah, it's starting to come out already. That's what I think happened. I will justify my existence by saying that I did not miss it. I just recreated it when I was messing with this angle here. It's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. It actually came out pretty good. Yeah, well, there you go. Not much there. Alright. Can't believe that's all there is to it, but start at the top again. It does not open up. Alright, good deal. Good enough for me. Don't want to mess with anything that's really not broke. I did forget to clean up on the inside there, so I'll get that next time since I've already put the hose away. But I think that's going to do it for me for the evening. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. That's all I got for tonight and for the next little bit. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Even if it's not a positive comment, I still do like to read them. As long as they're constructive, I do appreciate them. If they're not, then I'll acknowledge it and probably move on with my life. Again, this is not an instructional or a reference channel. If you're doing everything that I'm doing and following me as the only show in town, you're making a big mistake. So not a bad night. That handbrake's an interesting contraption. But I wasn't glad to get that piece of the bonnet fixed and that dent banged back out. I do think that I put that in there when I was messing around with it. Anyway, that's enough talking out of me. See you in a week or so. Have a good life in between. See you soon. Take care. Cheers.